Valentine's Day is over, midterms are in full swing, and the Grammys were interrupted by Kanye this year. Now let's catch up with what's going on campus, and it's time for eWeekly. Thanks for joining us. I am Laura Fernandez.
And I'm Jillian Seach. This is the last show of February, and spring break is next week. Before you pack your bathing suit, let's catch up on the news.
Well, the search is over. The ruler of the Eagle office has been selected. The Eastern Michigan University Board of Regents elected Dr. James M. Smith as the university's 23rd president. Smith will assume the duties on July 1st of this year, and Dr. Smith served as president of Northern State University in Aberdeen, South Dakota since June 2009. NSU has done well under his presidency, being named one of the best undergraduate public institutions in the Midwest by U.S. News & World Report. Board of Regents Chairman Mike Morris says Smith brings extraordinary energy, vision, and experience to this role. Dr. Smith began his career as a public school teacher at the kindergarten level and was the recipient of a Distinguished Teaching Award from West Texas A&M in 1994. He earned a PhD in educational leadership from Miami University, and the process to find a new president was rigorous, difficult, and racked with controversy. It's time to move forward with a new leader at the helm, and we welcome you, Dr. James Smith.
Thousands of supporters got to feel the burn when Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders visited Eastern's campus Monday afternoon. Sanders' appearance at the Convocation Center comes just as his campaign opened 5 offices across the state over the past week in an effort to compete with Hillary Clinton, who has the backing of most of Michigan's prominent Democratic leaders. Although many of his supporters feel his lack of support from established Democratic politicians is what is so appealing about him. Including the floor area, the convo has a 9,500 person capacity, and the fire marshal cut off access to the arena when the droves of supporters reached nearly 9,400. The Convocation Center was filled to the last row with a large contingent of college students from both EMU and U of M. Sanders stressed the importance for the voting public to put pressure on elected officials, corporations, and big media. Sanders says when the people lead, the leaders follow. The Michigan Democratic primaries will be held on Tuesday, March 8th. Go vote, guys.
During Black History Month, many take time to discuss personal or universal growth and reflection within the Black community. This was the theme in the Student Center Auditorium February 3rd as students screened a documentary entitled Finding the Gold Within. The film followed 6 young African-American men's journeys through high school up until their first year in college. Featuring EMU's very own Darius Simpson, the film focuses on members of Alchemy Inc., an after-school mentoring program for urban youth in Akron, Ohio. Members of this program would gather in a circle, listen to mythology and ancient storytelling, play African drums, then journal how the stories apply to their lives. This in turn helped them to find their strengths and their gold in the darkness. The film also shows Simpson playing the drums to express the frustrations of racism experienced on and off campus. Viewers also able to see Simpson visit the Alchemy program and share his story with others facing challenges in college. To find out more, visit goldthefilm.com.
In case you're like the other 85% of students who are too busy with midterms than keeping up with the Student Senate, here's what you missed last week. The NCAA chapter was awarded $639 in their appeal after being denied over $1,500 by the Business and Finance Committee last month. The Senators also received an update from Jacob Butterfield from the Election Commission. The deadline to apply for a student government position ends on February 22nd. Active campaigning will begin on February 29th, so be ready for those nasty campaign attacks. Just kidding, we're better than that. Speaker of the Senate, Kira Fegan, spoke about the Energy and Sustainability Commission. The commission will host the Get Off Your Glass event on April 2nd at noon. Those attending the event will work together to clean up campus, which is sad considering there are literally trash cans all around. Finally, the Senate also received a recap of the Sexual Prevention Week, where over 550 people signed the Sexual Assault Prevention Pledge. Good job, Eagles.
We have another Way Back Wednesday treat for you today. Our good friend Jordan Brown had some fun on campus last semester, and we thought we'd take another look at one of her e-walking segments. Take a look.
This is Jordan Brown with E-Weekly, and this is E-Walking. The first one is your own opinion, so it should be pretty easy. Okay. Would you vote Kanye for president?
Probably not.
No.
Why not?
It's Kanye.
No, I would not vote Kanye.
No. Why not?
I don't like Kanye.
Absolutely. Kanye West is a phenomenal person, and I really agree with a lot of the things that he says in terms of politics.
Okay, well, since you are in college, that means you've taken a history course or two. So tell me, who is on the $10 bill?
Jefferson?
Are you like a pass or something?
No, you don't get a pass. You have to answer the question. We'll pass that one, okay?
I don't know.
Ben Franklin?
Ben Franklin is on the $100 bill.
There is no president on a $10 bill.
Oh, you got the trick question.
The person on the $10 bill is actually Alexander Hamilton, and he was the first Secretary of Treasury for the United States.
The next one. I want you to name all of the Kardashian children in order from oldest to youngest. You have 5 seconds, go.
I only know Kim K and what's the other young?
That would be a wrong answer. Wrong answer.
Kim. That's all I know.
Yes. Kim, I think. Courtney, Chloe, Rob is in there somewhere. He might be before one of them. Kendall and Kylie.
No. Chloe, Kim, Courtney, Kendall, and Kylie.
Almost.
Courtney, Kim, Chloe, Kendall, Kylie.
You missed one, but that was really good.
Oh,
Rob. Everybody forgets about Rob. Last question. So I want you to name these states from west to east, okay? So we have Minnesota, New Hampshire, Wyoming, Idaho, and Delaware.
Wyoming, Idaho. Wait, what was the other two?
Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Delaware.
Minnesota, New Hampshire, Delaware.
Almost.
Wyoming, Idaho, Minnesota, Delaware, New Hampshire.
So close.
Wyoming, Idaho, Minnesota, or New Hampshire, and Delaware.
Idaho, Wyoming. Can you say them again, please?
We have Delaware, Minnesota, and New Hampshire left.
Minnesota, Delaware, New Hampshire.
You got it right. I wish we had a prize for you.
Well, that was fun. After spring break, we will be back with our Who's Who at EMU segment, and we want to spotlight your student organization. To join us here in Ford's studio and bring some attention to your club, contact us here at ETV. The email address is etv@emu@gmail.com, and be sure to check our Facebook page too.
An EMU student was the victim of an unarmed robbery Monday night outside of Pierce Hall. Two unknown subjects approached the student and attempted to steal his cell phone. A struggle ensued when one of the subjects punched the victim and the other subject became involved. They succeeded in taking the victim's cell phone, but the victim was not harmed. Suspects have been described as two African-American men in their mid-20s. Suspect 1 is of light complexion, about 5'11" and 230 pounds, last seen wearing a tan jacket. Suspect 2 is 5'9", about 170 pounds, and last seen wearing a black jacket, black pants, and a black skull cap. If you or someone you know has any information, please contact the EMU Police Department at 734-487-1222 or the anonymous tip line through Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. The Department for Public Safety reminds the EMU community to always be aware of your surroundings or have a walking partner whenever possible.
The EMU Honors College Star Lecture Series is coming back with a close-up on language and its effects. Professor of Linguistics T. Daniel Seeley will hold the next lecture on March 8 at Halley Library Auditorium. Seeley is the recipient of the Ronald W. Collins Distinguished Faculty Teaching Award and is also an author with contributions in journals such as Syntax and Linguistic Inquiry. In his upcoming discussion, The Language That Separates Us, Seeley will cover the current linguistic research about the nature of language and his research on the biolinguistic theory, the study and evolution of language. The lecture will provide the students the opportunity to learn about language and its capacity of dividing and uniting us. Make sure you make your way to Halley Library Auditorium March 8 at 7 p.m. for this is a lecture you should not miss.
Eastern Michigan was just designated by the National Security Agency and Department of Homeland Security as one of the nation's best institutions in information assurance. EMU will receive the Certificate for Cyber Defense this June in Philadelphia. The program is open to four-year colleges and graduate-level universities. The Assistant Professor Shadong Shanchi of the School of Information Security and Applied Computing at EMU was one of the people who made this possible. Shanchi says last summer, EMU went through the tedious documentation process to prove to the National Security Agency that our IA program and EMU as a whole met the new rigorous criteria. It was a campaign led by our school along with the support from faculty, staff, and administrators from the College of Technology, Business, Arts and Sciences, Health and Human Services, as well as the EMU Graduate School. During the process, the university's IT department also provided great technical support. Way to GOIT!
For many today, stage plays are an iconic symbol of a much simpler time, a time where friends and families would come together and experience a heart-wrenching performance. Dozens of actors and actresses pour their heart and soul into their craft. Now consider all of those parts played by one man, an entire 2-hour performance with nearly half a dozen characters, all played by one actor. Stage player Sebastian Gernster stars in Chesapeake, a story about a man who fights against the chains of tyranny in order to protect what he loves, his art. It's a story about passion and theft, hope and despair. Chesapeake will be shown at the Yellow Barn located on 416 South Huron Street in Ann Arbor, now through February 28th. Talk about a real one-man show. Check it out.
Dominique Bird is back to serve up some more Dish with Damo. What do you have for us today, Damo?
Well, hello again, and welcome to another Dish with Damo. Remember last week when we talked about the thriving Black community right here in Ypsilanti? Well, because of this and the various Underground Railroad stations right here, the Metro Detroit area was a well-known site for slave hunters. Now, being a member of the Underground Railroad was already dangerous work, but there were many willing to take the chance to help slaves reach their freedom. One woman, in fact, who stands out in Ypsilanti's Underground Railroad is Miss Laura Haviland, who, interestingly enough, was a Quaker. However, she separated herself from the Quakers after establishing the Female Anti-Slavery Society in 1832. Around this same time, she helped the family of Willis and Elsie Hamilton escape from Nashville. She then traveled to Nashville again in 1846 to try and rescue their children. It wasn't until 1850 when Thomas Chester, a slave catcher, came looking for them. But the Hamiltons had been in Canada since the 1840s. Chester then claimed to have found the Hamiltons here in Ypsilanti and placed them on trial, with the witness providing a positive ID. The judge for the trial was Detroit Judge Ross Wilkinson, who was an abolitionist sympathizer. He sent word to the head abolitionist George DeBaptiste about the danger the Hamiltons were in. DeBaptiste arranged to follow Chester to the arrest, with the crowd until the alleged Hamilton family produced their freedom papers with the name David Gordon on them. Angered by this, Chester threatened to murder Gordon's wife and daughter to force David to admit he was a Hamilton. Embarrassed, Chester then tried to arrest a random man so he could save face. His accompanying officer stated, "You know not what you are about. I will arrest no man at your command." Whew, pretty intense, right? Well, thankfully, that story ended well. If you'd like to know more stories like this about the history of the Underground Railroad for yourself, you can read Layla Haviland's memoirs titled A Woman's Work online for free. Back to you, Jillian.
Thanks for that dish, Dominique. When we come back, we'll have Al Willman with the sprint edition of Eagle Sports Update. Stay tuned.
A typical day will start for the delivery staff because they are central to what we do. Our delivery staff gets here at about 9:30 in the morning. They get their route for the day. Then they prep their vehicle, they clean it out, make sure it's ready to go. They get their hot boxes all set and ready. Valley Food Services, who is our commissary for our food preparation, will come to Meals on Wheels between 9:45 and 10 a.m. They get here, we count out the meals, we temp them to make sure they're at the appropriate heat. Then they section them out and count and make sure we have the exact number of meals we need, and then they get the sides that go along with the hot entrees, and they have that bag and they put that in a cooler, and then they load that into their vehicle. Then they do their exit checkout, and then they're ready to go on their route. So typically they're out of here no later than 10:15, 10:30. Then they start their deliveries, and it takes them about 2 to 2.5 hours to make those deliveries. So for myself and our office staff, I typically get here about 8:30 to open the office. We check our messages. Then we also do some prep work for the routes. If there needs to be some logistical changes for routing, we try to do that. Typically, I start by answering emails from volunteers and from our funders, and then my work kind of starts into doing some grant writing and who I have to go meet with today, if I have to meet with a funder or a partner program. And then Carrie does a lot more of the office work as well. So between our primary hours, Carrie will also probably do anywhere between 1 and 3 intake calls for clients who might need to get on our program. So she does that, and it takes roughly about an hour to do that over the phone with a client. She'll kind of help with all the paperwork that we have to file from a state level, sets up appointments for our nursing staff and nursing students to go out and do health assessments for the clients on a daily basis. And then she also just kind of maintains the facility to make sure the upkeep is going well.
My mom's birthday was coming up fast, so I needed to go out shopping for something quick. I needed to move money from my savings to my checking account so I could use my debit card at the mall. I cracked open my laptop, hit the bookmark from my bank, and entered in my username and password. What the heck? I got sent back to the home page. So I entered in my username and password again, made the transfer, and went to the mall where I found this cool little necklace for my mom. That's good news, right? The bad news is, the next week I went to make a purchase and they told me that I had insufficient funds to cover that purchase. Long story short, when I had logged into my bank the first time, I got redirected to a fake site that stole my username and password. I guess I got a virus that redirected my bookmark. The thieves had a field day with my account. I wish I had known then what I know now. You have to check and make sure you're really on your bank's website. This could be done by either recognizing an image you've selected or clicking a lock or VeriSafe icon and comparing the bank's web address to a web address you've got on our certificate. My name is Luke, and I'm trying to be e-safe.
Welcome to the Eagles Sports Update Sprint. I'm your host, Al Willman, and here are this week's top sports stories. We'll begin with news from the dugout. The EMU softball team closed out its opening weekend at the Trojan Invitational with a 3-1 loss to Evansville. Elaine Whitbeck scored for Eastern Michigan, but the teams entered the 5th inning tied 1-1. It was here that a double to center field gave Evansville a 2-1 lead and ended the day for sophomore starting pitcher Trisha Trujillo, who threw 5 strikeouts and gave up 2 runs. Junior Abby Minkster entered the game in relief and gave up 1 more run in the 6th. The team has dropped 5 straight to start the season, but can turn things around this Friday when it competes in the Madeira Beach Invitational. The gymnastics squad broke yet another record this season, the 3rd in as many meets, in a tri-meet win over Bowling Green and Southeast Missouri State. For the first time in program history, the green and white scored a 196.6, which broke the previous record set last Monday at the University of Michigan. Eastern went for 6 for 6 on the bars, with every gymnast scoring at least a 9.7. Next, the rotation of Natalie Gervais, Lacey Rubin, Megan Holtgren, and Kendall Valentin led a record-breaking rotation on the beam, notching a score of 49.275. This was followed by a groundbreaking effort on the floor, as the team notched a 49.225. Lastly, Eastern finished the vault with an event score of 49.15, solidifying the historic finish. The squad returns to action this Friday for a contest at the Convo against Western Michigan. The event is set to start at 6:30 p.m. That's all for this week's Sprint edition of Eagle Sports Update. For more in-depth analysis and sports talk, check out the full Eagle Sports Update on YouTube. When we come back, Dominique will return with Eagle Encounters. She'll get you set up for the weekend as we head into spring break. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Shanna Gilkison, and ETV has been a very important part of my life, especially for the last 4 years.
I got my start at ETV in my 3rd semester at Eastern from fellow students, and it's been a great experience.
Working with all these new people that I didn't know before, it's very awesome just seeing how willing people are to get together and create something from scratch.
I'm Shanna Gilkison for Eastern Weekly, and this is E-Walking.
I will also be hosting and producing a sort of like a late night style talk show.
Everyone that's here wants to be here. They care to be here. They want to work. They want to learn. And with that kind of environment, everybody benefits.
I tell you, I've been doing really well, very successful here at Eastern, but it wasn't until I really became part of the ETV club that I really felt like I was getting more of what I needed as a student.
We decided that we wanted to do things above and beyond our coursework, so I was part of founding the ETV Student Org.
It just so happened that Shanna was in one of my classes, and she told me to come, and I showed up, and it was very warm welcome. Like, everybody was very nice to me right away, and they actually had an idea to make a sitcom, or actually they called it a soap opera at that time, and they said they had they weren't sure exactly what they wanted, but they wanted one thing. They knew that they wanted this guy, his name is Ramon, to be their main character. I mean, that was kind of how the show Week at a Glance kind of took off.
Beyond Eastern's walls, when I'm done here, I'll probably be working with some people from ETV, again, professionally. And I think a lot of students don't take advantage of what they should with organizations on campus, and ETV is one of the best.
Are you an EMU student interested in getting a first-hand experience working at a radio station? Well, say no more. EMU offers a class through Eagle Radio that will thoroughly prepare you for a real-life experience. But first, you have to register for the class. Pick a date and a time slot. Then the world is yours. Eagle Radio allows you to be fully independent and customize your own show. Have real conversations about the news, celebrity gossip, update listeners about the weather, play a trivia game. It's your show. You're free to name your show whatever you want and play any edited music of your choice. If you love having heated debates and you feel your words need to be heard, then Eagle Radio is just for you.
Hello, it's me again. So here we are with Eagle Encounters. Many of you may be heading home, or if you're lucky, somewhere warm where you can get sand between your toes. But if you plan to stick around for spring break, I've got some tips for you on what you can do on campus this weekend, all right? Friday night is date night at the EMU Planetarium on the 4th floor of the Mark Jefferson Science Complex. From 6:15 to 7:15 p.m., the STARS presentation shows the audience how every star has a story. While some are as old as time, new stars are created every day. Learn about some of their stories from 7:30 to 9 p.m. is the official date night show at the planetarium. February is the month of romance, and you and your date can get a seasonal tour of the sky in this unique presentation. These events at the planetarium are $5. Also on Friday night, the gymnastics team takes on Western Michigan at the Convocation Center. The meet starts at 6:30. They'll tumble for you, I'm sure. There's no Friday night movie this week or next. Look for The Good Dinosaur to screen on March 4th. Saturday brings you a basketball doubleheader with two great games, starting with the men's battling the Toledo Rockets at noon at the Convocation Center. The women play right afterwards at 2:30 p.m. They play Northern Illinois Huskies and another important league game. There are only 2 home games left for the women's squad and 3 for the men's before the MAC tourney, so get to the convo and cheer on your Eagles. You've got another quiet day on Sunday. There isn't much going on here on campus, but hopefully you can get a well-deserved break. Enjoy your week off, Eagles.
And thank you so much, Dominique. Well, there you have it, guys. News in a nutshell. Cram in that last study session, kick that last exam's butt, and then head out and put on your toes in the sand somewhere.
That's right. Have a great spring break, folks. And when you're done binge watching your favorite shows and need more ETV, head over to YouTube and search ETV at EMU. Thanks for watching.